Hey,
I'm Diego.
I'm JT.
I'm Carlos, and we got producer son Ev kicking on the levels over here.
Yeah, how's it going?
Welcome back to another episode of Bowl of Men. So on today's episode, we're gonna kind of throw it back to the OGs, the
Cult classics.
like the great grandfathers of the wonderful anime we see today. On today's topic list, we're talking about everybody's favorite
Cowboy Bebop.
Cowboy Bebop. Cowboy Bebop. We do. So I was kind of spitballing with the guys here, and we're thinking maybe we're going to make this a ongoing series. We're gonna kind of bring up some other anime, because obviously Cowboy Bebop isn't like the epitome of like OG anime, but it's our group's personal favorite. But
we can all relate to it.
Yeah. We're all, in another life, space cowboy bounty hunters. No, but so we do want to talk about some other ones. Visit the classics, the OGs. So let us know what you guys want to talk about. Hit us up on Twitter at Bowl of Men, or if you want to send us a good old fashioned email, bowlofmen@gmail.com. Join in on the discussion. Let us know if you want us to talk about a certain classic anime. Cult classics, the goodies, oldies but goodies. But anyways, yeah, so today's episode we're going to talk about Cowboy Bebop. When did it come out? 98?
It came out in 1998.
98, yep. A great year for anime.
And it was released by the studio Sunrise.
Sunrise,
yeah.
Yeah, isn't it like Sunrise and like TV Tokyo and Kodawa or something like that? Those are like some of like the great, I think a lot of like the top classic anime are probably like by those.
Yeah, they made a lot of good anime. Yeah.
Those are definitely like the Titans.
Even in their time, like in the 90s, early 2000s too.
Yeah, but so for me personally, I think Cowboy Bebop was probably like my second anime or third anime that I watched.
Mm-hmm.
When I was barely first getting into it.
Mm-hmm.
And man, I want to say it was almost a mistake because it set the bar very incredibly high. I feel like most people when they binge anime, they kind of like, they have like or not anime, but just binging in general. You get left with that like hole in your chest, like that emptiness when you finish a series. Yeah. This one like did it to me hard. Like I was talking to Diego and I was telling him about how whenever I finished watching it, I Googled like animes like Cowboy Bebop and Space Dandy, Samurai Champloo, things like that came up, and I was just like trying to fill the void. I was like,
nothing can come close to that.
Yeah, man, it set the bar incredibly high. And actually, we were doing some research, and I think Ev told me that it actually almost kind of flopped when it first initially came out. Right? Yeah, which is super surprising.
Yeah, because it aired in Japan, like on TV.
Yeah,
but like there was like super low ratings, and they kind of canceled it because of the maturity of it. So only the episodes 2, 3, 7, and 15 and 18 were broadcasted.
Yeah, it's like crazy to think that like this super beloved anime is like
even today like still beloved.
Yeah, man. I think in that same like article that we were reading on, it was saying that it was like the gateway, or it was first aired or not like first aired, but when it aired in America, it was just kind of like the intro to anime in America.
Yeah, I'm guessing it's what got a lot of people into anime.
Yeah, and
it's actually what led over here the Western us to like love anime.
Yeah. No, and I was sorry to cut you off, but yeah, like I have like this memory as a being younger and like seeing Cowboy Bebop on Toonami.
Yeah.
Like I never watched it all. But so technically one could even argue that it was my first anime, but definitely watching it again, I get like those flashbacks, like watching it in my parents' room as a kid.
Yeah.
Really cool. Great anime. I'm sorry, what were you going to say?
No, I was going to say this exact same thing. It's just like, yeah, you would be young, like, obviously the older generation than us, like they would watch this and be like, it's like, wow, this is anime, like this is amazing. Obviously it isn't the same thing that it is now, like the newer animes, but it's like yeah, now we're kind of used to that stuff. But yeah, it's like it's kind of what led that anime piloted that stuff over
Yeah,
here.
yeah. No, and I think a big driving force why we want to cover some, like, what we consider the OG classic anime is that, like, you look at the stuff nowadays and it seems almost very cookie cutter, right? It's like
Yeah, usually whenever they follow a certain genre, that's usually certain things. So like if you have some that are harem or ecchi anime, they're just kind of like, yeah, here's a little bit of plot at the very beginning, then it's all just random
Yeah,
bullcrap in the
And it's
middle, and then
basic
like the last
anime
episode.
tropes.
Yeah,
You know?
Yeah,
it all kind of falls into like these very clearly distinguishable categories, and it's just like, and they're it's like a big bowl with like lots of animes that fit into it, 'cause it's just
And
like,
don't get me wrong, it's not like bad because
oh
like,
yeah, it's not that they're bad.
it's not, I'm not calling the animes bad. It's like because it's like sometimes you'll just go like, I'm feeling like watching this today, and you'll go find it. You know, there's like a lot of places you can go and ask what you're trying to look for, and you'll find it. You know, it's like I'm feeling like watching a slice of life with a little bit of romance, and they'll offer you like a bunch of that
Yeah,
stuff.
you get like a whole category, or like a big
bunch of
laundry
those.
list of them.
Yeah.
But when you look at these classic animes, like each of them very distinguishable art style.
Uh-huh.
The soundtrack, the voice acting, like the story.
they're just
most of all.
there's so much uniqueness
Yeah,
in them.
yeah, and it's like, man, just it's really cool. Like I feel like everyone's seen like in or a classic anime at one point in time, so it's really cool, like being able to, go back and watch these for the podcast and stuff. Because I definitely think like when you start anime, that's probably like when you're most likely to watch like the older ones. But then as you like progress and you get your own taste and stuff like that, you might kind of like drift away from it.
Yeah.
At least that's how it was for me personally. But so it's really cool being able to go back and like watch some of these that I've kind of looked over.
Yeah.
So
Like
what's really interesting to me thinking about it now is that a lot of people say that Cowboy Bebop was a gateway anime, like we were just talking about. It's really interesting to me because most gateway animes that you will watch, or at least the newer gateway animes, once you watch them and then kind of get more experience in watching anime and then go back to watch them, you really see where a lot of the flaws were, and it wasn't nearly as good as what you first remember.
yeah.
But a lot of these older ones, like Cowboy Bebop, for example, animes like this is considered as a gateway anime. Even going back to rewatching it, it still holds up, even to today's time.
Yeah, I agree with that.
It's
100%.
it's like a
incredible.
like a nice fine
Yeah,
wine.
fine
like
wine.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like me being someone new into anime, like I've watched some animes. I'm not gonna name some, but the first time
Which shall
but
be undisclosed.
the first time I watched it, I was like, oh yeah, that's pretty cool. And then like I watch it again, like some other time, just little clips. I'm like, it's not really as good as I thought.
Yeah.
But rewatching like Bebop, that was all like, this is as good as I remember.
Yeah.
Even better.
It's
Like
like,
now that I
it's
know
even
somewhat
better.
of the story.
Yes. So I was like, we were kind of like rewatching some clips earlier, just as we were sitting here preparing for the podcast, reminiscing. And I was telling the guys, there's like a scene in one of the later sessions. I think it was like session 25, I think, or 26. And Jet's like sitting there watching Spike eat, and he just has like this smile on his face, like as he's watching Spike eat this food, and like you can just like see like the love that he has for like this guy, and like that the bonds that they like built on, and it's like something so little as a smile that I didn't even catch like the first time around that I watched it, but like, just seeing that clip, I was just like, oh crap, man, like man, that's really cool, that like you catch different things like as you come back to them that you wouldn't have seen.
Yeah, that's the beauty of it too.
It's like, I think that's like a testament as to why, or like it proves how great it is that like,
yeah,
you'll
it's
catch
like
these little things.
it's like you're saying earlier. You're saying like, yeah, this is like a gateway anime into like first watching anime. You're like, yeah, you might recommend Cowboy Bebop to somebody. And you're like, oh yeah, I like Cowboy Bebop because it's like shooty,
Yeah.
action, romance, a little bit of romance, and all this stuff. And you start watching other animes, and you're like, oh, this had a lot of meaning into that anime. And then you go back to Cowboy Bebop, and you're like, oh, I finally get the meaning of Cowboy Bebop after watching 500 different animes, And it's pretty cool because, like, I rewatched Cowboy Bebop, and every time I rewatch it, it's like you learn something new from it every time. And the more you age, you learn something new every time,
Yeah.
or you catch something new from that anime. It's pretty cool. I don't know.
No, I agree 100%. It's honestly, I mean, like we've just kind of been sitting here just like praising it, and I mean, it's with due, it's like I feel like it earned it. It's just, I think for anyone who watches anime or enjoys anime, it's definitely one that they got to have on their list. It's just, I mean, dude, that intro, like like right off the bat, it's like
the opening.
I think it like the opening kind of speaks for the anime. Like you get this like the jazz, and then there's just like the silhouettes of them dancing, or like the
doing their thing.
yeah, smoking, things like that. It's just like this super chill, just but still badass kind of feel to it, and that's like what it follows.
The way the jazz is sort of like calming, but like this jazz is also like very upbeat, very fast
paced. Yeah.
So it's like it's very like you get that in the anime. For those of you, okay, so back up a little bit. For those of you who haven't seen it, there. Spoiler warning, first of all, I mean, the anime's been out for a while, so
20 plus years.
Yeah, right.
20 plus years.
So definitely get on it. Recommend that, first of all, to get on and watch it. But yeah, so spoiler alerts for the rest of the podcast. We do kind of want to go in depth about it on some parts because, it is such a great anime. But yeah, so how Ev was saying, it's like jazz is normally like a calming, just like smoky room, got a little
jazz.
Yeah. But this one, it's as we found out, or as Diego informed me, bebop is a type of jazz. So I think that's really cool. It's like Cowboy Bebop, and bebop's the type of jazz. So it's like a little more upbeat, like what is the big band jazz? Is that what
big band jazz?
Yeah, so like
a bunch of instruments.
The creator or director, whatever, Shinichiro Watanabe, who be like Watanabe, like created Cowboy Bebop. He wanted like a lot of references from Western, American stuff.
Yeah.
So like the name Cowboy Bebop, so cowboy, Texas,
Western
whatever.
American.
Yeah.
And then Bebop jazz because he loves jazz. So Bebop's a genre of jazz. And then from like early to mid 20th centuries, like the jazz movement, that's what like he called it Cowboy Bebop, and that's where the name came from. And if you've seen Cowboy Bebop, it has a lot of influences from the over here like Western stuff.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I think it's it definitely has like is it noir or noir?
Noir, I think.
Is that how you say it?
It's noir.
Noir. Yeah. Kind of like those the old like detective
investigating.
But then it also has that like the Western shooty kind of vibe,
especially with the bounties. Like, that's a big thing.
Yeah, and it's super cool. But on the point that I wanted to bring up about the whole jazz, it's like the anime is very much follows that in suit, where it's like you'll have moments of like the team just like starving on the ship, like they're hungry, they got to get a bounty, and it's just them. I don't want to say kicking back, but it's essentially they're like forced to like laze around because they don't have a job and they're bounty hunters, and then
it's like they're
boom.
Self-employed.
Exactly. So then they get a bounty, and then it's action, where they're like chasing people down, and they're shooting up places and stuff. And then right back, they're back to just on the ship, just like same thing. So it's like you have that like slow paced jazz, but the bebop side where it's like high intensity, So it's really cool, honestly. Like just now, like actually like after
thinking about it,
yeah, like you broke it down where it's like the two sides of like the jazz part, and it's like I can see that like in the anime, which is really cool. Like like I said, it's like I've seen it how many years ago, but still now we're finding things about it. So I guess touching on a little bit more about like the anime, it's 5 if you count Ein.
Yeah, you gotta count Ein.
Yeah, right. On this ship, and they're bounty hunters and
space bounty hunters. Got
space bounty hunters. That's right, my bad.
In the year 2071.
2071. Cowboy Bebop 2077. Yeah, so they're on this ship, and they just there's a term for when the story doesn't actually like follow chronologically, or like one episode
episode 1 isn't actually episode 1.
Yeah, like there's no like you don't have to watch it in order essentially, right? Like each episode just picks up randomly at whatever point in time.
technically, yes, you kind of do have to watch it in order, because like they pick up like
Yeah. So like there is a timeline. Like it does flow from A to B to C.
yeah.
But like in between A and B, like you don't. So say there's like 5 episodes from point A and point B. Like episode 2 doesn't rely on episode 1.
Yeah, because
like,
there's like a filler. Most of this anime just kind of feels like filler,
yeah,
And there's like certain episodes that are like, it's like, oh, they pick up Ed, and it's like that's important because like Ed is a character, in this
right.
anime, or like they meet Faye,
An
which
A
is
plot
like
character.
yeah,
Yeah, so it's like, for example, like say they do a mission and they catch somebody. Like it'll in doing the research, the Shinichiro Watanabe, is that his name?
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
So he initially wanted to make this a movie,
yeah,
but it was episodic. So that's why they call them sessions. He wanted to make little movies in each episode. So in every session, it follows like the standard like story plot line where it's like this is happening, that starts this, and then it resolves and it's over, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now we're on session 2, session 5,
Yeah.
or it continues, and each session has its own start, middle, end. So that's kind of like why it's not. I want to say there's only 2 separate times in the entire show where it'll be like a part 1, a part 2, a part 3, or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Where it is like, okay, you need to watch this one first, obviously, and then you go to this one because it builds upon the last episode or the last session. So I think it's really cool in that way, in that like it is a slow ride. You can just kind of take it in. You don't have to binge it all. At least for me, like when I watch anime, I want to binge it, because if I wait week to week, I feel like I'm gonna forget the last thing that happened.
yeah.
Whereas this one, it's a slow ride, it's a slow burn. You just like take it at whatever pace you want, because there's not really much that you need to like have it's not like mentally taxing, you know, like you don't have to like break it down. It's just, bounty hunters being bounty hunters, living and
so like that's part of the problem for me. Don't get me wrong, I love Cowboy Bebop, but one of my main problems with it is how much of a slow burn it is.
Yeah.
Like it makes me. It's not that I don't like it. It's just that I lose interest in it so quickly because of how slow of a burn it is.
No, I feel that. I mean, no, it's like, it is like a lot of it is them in space, so it's like it's like that Western sci-fi noir.
Mm-hmm.
It's like it'll be them just like sitting around, not really doing anything until it kicks off, and even when it kicks off, it's
still really slow.
Yeah, it's not necessarily always just like super intense shootouts and stuff. Like you get those every now and then, like it happens, but it's not like explosions here and then like it is. So I feel that it. Yeah, it never occurred to me that it might not be like someone's cup of tea, like, but it is possible. Yeah, it's not just because it's a classic. Like how they said it initially it was a flop. So I wonder. It's funny how like cult classics like that.
They age like what, like wine or something.
Yeah, they just no. It's like it's not good at first, but then just something about the community or how people accept it, it just makes it so much better. But like I'm trying to stay away from just like talking about how great it is. All
right, well, let's talk about the background of like how actually like what happened to Earth and why like they're in space. You know how that happened?
Oh no, I don't actually. I don't remember.
This is more getting into like
wasn't it like the moon broke or something like that? I might be thinking of a different anime. No, honestly,
you're right. Well, basically in 2071, right? An accidental explosion of a experimental gate device that allows for hyperspace travel seriously damages the moon, right? So there's like basically an explosion that like causes the moon to like.
Okay. I'm surprised I actually managed to remember that, honestly.
Yeah.
Like, that might just be like general sci-fi, honestly. So like, just like,
the moon's gone.
Blew up. Someone ate the cheese.
So like there's like it damages the moon, and there's like which causes a drift of a swarm of meteorites and asteroids to bombard the surface of the planet of Earth, which basically wipe out like the population of Earth. Not all of it, but like most of it.
Yeah, and then I'm guessing like standard science stuff, like no more moon means no more tides, and now the Earth's all out of whack and stuff.
Mhm.
Well, yeah, it's like it's all out of whack. So like, have you ever seen like the episodes of like whenever they do visit like Earth, it's all like super dry and like
Yeah,
and most of them are like flooded, you know, some places. And then like whenever like that happens, so people the survivors they abandon the planet to colonize a new habitable systems, which is Mars, Venus, and the asteroid belt, and Jupiter's satellites. Well, basically, yeah. Well, that's technically what happens. Like they break up the moon, it hits the
The Earth
Earth,
making it.
yeah, it
and
makes
they
it
have to move out.
inhabitable,
Yeah,
and then they go and colonize the surrounding planets and moons and stuff, basically. Um, yeah, it's like I don't know if that's like a fault of mine or a fault of how they made or like wrote this story, where it's just like, or maybe that goes to show how great it is that like things like that didn't really stick for me. It's more of just like, oh, cool cowboy bounty hunter on a spaceship,
Yeah.
you know, like
Simple-minded.
yeah, like
Oh, cowboy.
yeah, and like because I think they really did do a good job of like these characters. Like I don't remember everything, but I do remember a good chunk of them. You know, like they go in depth in Faye's story and like Spikes and Jets and Ed's and even Ein a little bit. You know, like
yeah.
everybody's lovable.
Yeah.
Corgi. No, I think probably. I mean, okay. So what about favorite episodes? Do y'all have favorite episodes? Like
Mine 17.
17.
Session 17
Which-
mushroom.
Oh yeah.
Don't get me wrong, there's like other great episodes than that, but
No, I
Yeah.
mean that one's probably just like the most.
funniest stuff. To
Yeah.
me, it's just like maybe give me a
So
good chuckle.
you know, in this episode, the
Session.
gang, they're okay. So bounty hunters, they don't always have work, and in turn, they don't have money most of the time, and so they're usually starving or like they're always looking for food. So I believe they land on Earth, right? Or
Mm,
it doesn't really matter, but they're on a planet and they're like camping out essentially, and they need food.
well, like yeah, they
Oh no, it's that they
they-
go to do something else.
so like they ran out of fuel, and like they're depending on like the drift to send them on I forgot what planet. So they're just like drifting away, and they have to like wait hours, right? And then this like one ship just crashes into them, and they like get into a hit and run situation, and that sends them into like this one planet, right? And then they crash into there, and then Jet's trying to fix the ship, right? And they're all trying to fix the ship, and they're all hungry. And then Jet's all like, no, Spike's all like, well, while we fix the ship, how about Ed and Ein go catch some food, And this planet's all deserted, so they go and find this like little city, and they find the mushroom dealer, like the shrooms, and they just get into like this whole like
yeah, so it's essentially like, isn't it that they're gonna like peddle the mushrooms or something like that to like make money, but then like
that's like
the
what
mushrooms get lost and Ed somehow finds them.
that's technically what happens at the end. What happened is like they find out that like he has a giant like bounty on his head. So Ed's all like, "Well, I'll turn in the bounty and I'll get all this money to buy food." And the shroom dealer's all like, they capture the shroom dealer, and he's all like, he's like, "No, wait, these mushrooms are way more than were worth more than my bounty, So you could sell all these shrooms and like it make more than what I'm worth." So like they take the shrooms and they like go back to the ship. And then like they're all like, it's like, "Yeah, I got all these shrooms that are worth more than the bounty." And a cop comes and is like, "Yeah, we have intel that there's like a shroom dealer around here." And then the Spike comes out with the shrooms, and it's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna test those shrooms if they're like those mushrooms to see if like they got drugs in them." And he tests them, and they're just regular shiitake mushrooms.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but no, it's probably like the funniest part because they end up like eating the mushrooms
Yeah.
or like the shrooms,
Yeah,
the
like
drug
Ed feeds
mushrooms,
them.
and then they're all pretty much just tripping. They all have like their own little. Like they're by
Episode.
themselves and they'll have their own hallucinations and they're just like tripping around the
Yeah, like
ship.
Jet's talking to his bonsai, and Faye's
She's like,
like
swimming in the restroom, right? Like
she's like small, and like toilet's like super huge, and then what's it called?
Spike is just
Spike's
like
just top.
he's like going up the stairs.
He's like, he sees this one frog. He's like, son, do you know these are the stairs that lead to heaven? Like, this is the stairway to heaven.
But he's just like walking on the same step.
Yeah.
Like in his mind, he's climbing this like stairway to heaven or whatever. But like in actuality, he's just like in place, walking on the single
same
step.
Yeah.
I remember just like that was the funniest thing to me, man. I couldn't stop laughing.
Yeah.
It was I think for me, my favorite episode is Faye gets like a mail from her past self, right? So in Faye's story, she's, you know, some things happen and she ends up being like cryogenically frozen and then woken up, you know, 50 something years later, in, you know, the future. And she gets like this little cassette or like a recording of her younger self.
The beta tape.
VHS.
Yeah. And so the gang, Spike and Jet, are I guess are trying to do something nice for her, and they want to, or I think is it that they're being nosy, that they just want to like see
I
it.
think a little bit of both.
No, so basically, you know, since Faye owes like a lot of, she's in debt, right? And there's always people like wanting to collect money from Faye. That package comes and she thinks it's like somebody wanting to collect money from her, so she runs away, and then Jet has to pay the fee for like the package. So if Jet's all like, well, I guess this is mine now. And then like he opens the package and he's like, huh, what's this? An ancient relic? So they go to town and
that's fine. So they end up going back to Earth
To a pawn shop or something.
no, they go to town and he's like, this is this guy who collects the stuff, you know. And he's like, well, I guess I can make my money back if I sell this like, you know, collectible.
Relic.
And the guy's all like, yeah, I'll buy it, but I got to see what's in it first. And the tape stops working, and then Spike breaks the beta VHS player or whatever, and they go to Earth to go get the beta player.
I mean, like that's my favorite part is when they go to Earth looking for this player.
Yeah.
You know, this thing that the device to play the little
beta tape,
the little tape, and they're like walking around a museum of some type for like, because I think like even in that time it was like old technology or something like that. So so they're like in a museum and it's like all flooded.
It's like it's on the 27th like floor, but like beneath or something like that. So I think like go down 27 floors.
Yeah. And I don't know. I like that one, that it's like that sci-fi futuristic / post-apocalyptic, you know, it's like you see like the remnants of Earth, but like to Faye, it's all like, you know, she's aware of it because that's the hurt of what she came from. But to like Jet and Spike, they're just like, oh, an ancient relic. You know,
then they end up getting like the beta player, and they go back. Oh, and they also grab a TV, and they go back to the ship. And then like the beta tape is like too small compared to like the little thing, because they end up getting a VHS player. And then what ends up happening is like the person who sent the beta tape sends a beta player thing, so it's like wasn't even worth it. So then Jet has to pay like another fee. So it just adds up. Yeah, that was hilarious, man.
Yeah. So that's actually like I have this like lo-fi song on my playlist. It's called Bebop. And it's just a standard lo-fi beat or whatever, but then it's that video of Faye like as a kid like talking to Faye in the future. Yeah. So it always like brings this like insane nostalgia, like sadness feel, because like, you know, it's just Cowboy Bebop was so good, and it's just like I'm just like, oh, my heart every time I hear it. So I like always skip that song, but I never take it off my playlist. But and what about you? Have you got a favorite?
I mean, I was gonna say that one was like the same one.
Yeah. It's like it's cool just like seeing that, because they did so well. It's such good world building of just like, you know, you don't really care that like, you know, the world got screwed over. It's just like it's this really like romanticized like space cowboy, you know. It's such a cool like
that's their new world now.
Yeah,
like,
and it's like it's super like I would say probably like a second runner up for my favorite episode. This anime is it has amazing sound design. Like the music in it, it's all original music, right? Like it was made for the anime.
Yeah, let me get into that real quick. So basically, the music was composed by Yoko Kanno or Kano. I don't know how to pronounce her.
Yoko Kanno.
It's like Kanno, right?
But like Kano.
So basically, she was put in charge to make the music for this anime, right? And so she formed the band, the Seatbelts, and I think she played the piano in the band.
Yeah, I'm really sad that like that the seatbelts don't have music on Spotify. So like I'm always forced to go to YouTube if I ever want to like listen to their music.
Yeah.
Um no, it's great. And there's a session 5
Mm-hmm.
where it's like this subplot of there's just like this little boy and he plays the harmonica and he's like a harmonica prodigy, and it just like it's that like smoky lounge room and he's just like going away on this harmonica, and it's like something about it, man. It's just like so soothing. And then and I can't again like I remember some things of this anime, but there's other like it's still
Yeah.
foggy. It's been a while since I watched it, but I can't remember. I don't think the gang is so prevalent in that episode. Like it feels like it focuses more on like the going ons of like the little boy, and then like he gets tied in with like, then it'll like wrap around and be like, okay, this is why the gang is involved. But I like that episode just because the music, like it's that I feel that episode above all the other ones probably feels the most like noir,
Yeah.
like a detective in a smoky room looking through like some blinds and like the light kind of cuts in. Like it feels like that, honestly.
Mm-hmm. That episode was like one of the weirdest ones because it's like I don't remember quite why, but like he was like an older guy. Like that little kid was like actually like 90 something or like who knows like 100 something, right? So like, but he technically had like this like other guy in a wheelchair. I don't know if you remember.
Oh yeah.
And like I just don't remember, but it was like weird because it's like the world of like Cowboy Bebop and how it works, right? Like it really doesn't go in depth of like how it works, because it's like that was just one of the weirdest episodes to me. I'm like, okay, a little kid, and he's like really old, you know. And there's this other episode, or session where like you remember Ev, that episode where like the guy he's like big fat dude, like I think it's like Pierre Lefort or something like that, and he's like assassin. He has like a bunch of guns on him, and it's like it's just about him and Spike, and he wants to assassin him. You remember that episode?
Is that the episode
No.
where Spike confronts him in some kind of like
And
container yard or something like that?
he confronts him at a car, like what's it called, amusement park.
Amusement park. Yeah, I kind of remember that one. It ended with them being, yeah. Didn't that end with them being in a big shootout? Like,
Yeah, it's like basically it was crazy because like this guy he was being tested on, right? And he basically just ended up having like superhuman powers, right? And he has like a little like shield over him, so like bullets couldn't really affect him, nor could explosions affect him. And like he just had like millions of weapons, and Spike just confronts him. And like just like this episode weirds me out because it's like how the world of like Cowboy Bebop is like they could just throw in this like super OP character, you know?
Yeah, it's like it feels like it's so grounded in reality with like because it's believable.
Yeah,
It's
it's
like
like
sure, it's like yeah, in interdimensional space travel, like they
yeah,
open gates and stuff like that. But then like you get this like kind of toony character that's just
yeah,
like
and it's like
ooh, impenetrable armor or whatever. It's like all
yeah,
right, sure.
and it's like the way it ends, it's like basically I think Spike throws a knife at his leg or something because he sees the cat. Because like the guy like, that assassin like doesn't like cats, right? So he's like he starts freaking out over the cat, and Spike sees an opportunity and throws a knife at his leg, and then like the guy's all like the assassin's all like it's like oh it hurts, and he starts whining about it, right? And he just like a giant little like parade comes by, and there's like a little clapping like goofy looking guy, and he just like steps on the guy and he just dies. And I'm like, man, it's kind of crazy how like this OP character like had like I guess like a mom complex, as like I think Jack said, and he just dies like that. You know, it just the episode just kind of ends like that.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's like I think that's like the beauty of it is that like you get these like really serious moments, but then like on the flip side of that coin, it's just you get like something like that where it's just it's like what am I watching? What's happening? I definitely think I don't know, man. I think it's a good trade off of because I don't want to call it filler, but it's definitely like moments that don't feel necessary. Like they're not
Yeah,
important, but then you get like, like the last 2 sessions, 25
Mhm.
and 26. It's
Yeah,
like,
because those 2 episodes are connected. It's like part 1 and part 2.
yeah. Isn't there, what's the one before it where it's like, I think 3 parts? It's like Jupiter Jazz or something like that?
Jupiter Jazz.
Or is it, it's like 2 or 3 sessions.
What-
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's Jupiter Jazz. But,
What's it about?
oh man, I don't remember. I just remember like going through the episode lists and finding.
Oh, Jupiter Jazz. I remember that one. It's the one I think they first introduced Vicious, I think. Yeah, Faye, she basically goes to I think Jupiter. Yeah, on Jupiter's moon. And basically on this moon there's no women, which is kind of crazy. I don't know.
Blasphemy.
Blasphemy.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like that episode was really weird.
Yeah,
But-
no, I'm not saying that I liked it or anything, but it's just like I'm just bringing up how it's one of those episodes or one of those parts in the show. I think I brought it up earlier. Where it's like there's 2 parts in the show where it's a part 1 and a part 2, and
They
they're like
coexist, yeah.
connected. Yeah,
Yeah.
they coexist.
Well,
And,
yeah, it's an important episode because it's like that's where you learn. I think that's where you first learn about
Yeah,
Julia.
no, that's what I'm saying. Is that like it's like the rest of the anime is just there. It's like you watch it, you learn little bits and pieces here
Mhm.
and there of everyone's past, but for the most part, it's just shenanigans. But then you get to these 2 parts, Jupiter Jazz and what's the last part? What are the last sessions called?
Oh, the Real Folk Blues.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, the Real
Real-
Folk Blues.
part 1 and part 2?
2. Yeah.
Yeah. Where it's like, all right, this is like heavy plot, like pay attention,
Yeah.
and it really hits you. Like,
Kind of like Gintama.
yeah, man.
Like
Yeah, where it's just like
Yeah.
wacky, and then all of a sudden it's
It's
just like
super serious.
it's like, oh,
Hello,
this is
let me
a
be real with
battle-
you real quick.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
just a battle for
I remember
fate.
first watching it, I'm like, this is hilarious. A bunch of parody, like fourth wall break. And then
Yeah.
it's like, wait a minute. Why are you getting serious on
Yeah.
me?
I don't know. I feel like we should probably have an episode where we talk about Gintama. Let us know at Twitter, Bowl of Men. I was gonna say .com at Bowl of Men at Twitter. Let us know if you wanted to talk about Gintama. Yeah, man, I love it. I could talk for like hours and hours about Gintama and how they break the 4th wall, and it's honestly the greatest thing. Like, yeah, I feel like Cowboy Bebop, like, I don't know, like, again, I'm trying to stay away from just talking about how great it is, because at the end of the day, it's just like, I don't know, I feel like it should be on everybody's list of must-watch animes. Like, it's
I mean, especially if you're a beginner, because it has a little bit of everything: action, like love, romance. You can figure out what you want in an anime, kind of watching the whole anime, because it has a little bit of everything.
Yeah, I agree with that. There's like funny moments, serious moments,
Yeah, well,
sad
like-
moments.
Like, yes, Cowboy Bebop is like really cool. Like the whole plot, what they did with the whole like action, like I guess what each, all the anime in general is really cool. But then you get into the whole character development and their struggles, and like with Spike, he had the whole arc thing with like Julia, right? And basically, the whole point of like I guess this anime is to forget about or move on from your past, and that's what every character goes
They
through.
all have to struggle with like
And
something holding them back from
and
their
that's like
past.
the whole thing about like you hear a lot with Cowboy Bebop. It's like you're gonna carry that weight, and I'm pretty sure you guys have seen that thing or heard it.
Yeah, I
like,
think
you're
at
gonna
the very end of the first or the last episode, it's like you're gonna carry that weight with you.
Yeah. And like with like Spike, you see he can't forget about Julia, and like he's always there because he just can't move on from her. With Faye, like she can't remember her past, and she just like I
It's-
guess
She's trying to figure out her past.
So she's kind of like weighed down by like wanting to figure out her past because she
Mhm.
thinks that's like holds all the answers.
yeah.
And when then she finally remembers her past, she gets her memories back, and then she's like confronted with that like, okay, is this gonna make or break me? And then she chooses to move on.
Well, she
And-
finds out she has nowhere to go. Like
Right.
she has no home to go to. And
So
that's
like
where you
all that
find
work
out-
for nothing, just
Yeah,
She finds out like basically her home is like the Bebop with Spike and
and Jet.
Jet, and yeah, and that's why like she's disappointed that like Spike's going on.
Yeah. And so like what I referenced to earlier, it's like those last two real folk,
The real folk blues.
real folk blues. Yeah, like Spike goes out, finds Julia, and Julia dies, and and Jet thinks that so Spike has to go back, confront his demons, face the Syndicate, right?
Mm-hmm.
Julia dies. Jet thinks that Spike also, it's the Syndicate. He met his fate there. Anyways, he comes back, and Spike or Jet's just like elated. He's just like, oh man, you're alive, and like that's that moment I was talking about where like Jet is just like smiling, just like happy that he's alive, that he's back, and they share this moment where they tell this story about, or Spike tells this story about like two cats, and they're like laughing, and it's like this really like it's like. On the outside, it's like this really like happy moment, just like, oh, that's nice, but like on the inside, like, it's really sad, like,
yeah,
because they both know like what's about to happen, and Spike has to go,
yeah,
finish business, and I don't know if y'all noticed it, but there's this like scene where, or not in the scene, but like a part where. I mean, I guess, yeah, it is a scene where Spike's like walking. They're like laughing. It goes from like a wide angle shot, and they're both laughing, and ha ha ha, like they're like gut belly laughing. And Spike gets up and he's like walking away, walks past Jet, and I think Jet's arm like kind of covers his face a little bit, and then he's smiling, and then like it's kind of like that putting the hand over the face, like smiling,
Yeah,
frowning
changing
face.
expression.
Yeah, where he's just like smiling, and then like his arm kind of like blocks his face, and the next you see him, he's just like deadpanned, like, or yeah, he's like rubbing his head. So
yeah.
like his arm kind of blocks his face, and then like the next frame you see, he's just like deadpan, like is it for the girl, or
Yeah.
And it's just like, I don't know, man. It's like those moments, it's like so you go from like the anime, and it's just them doing like bounty hunting and stuff like that, and then you come to like these are like really sombering moments where it's just like. Like they're all they have for each other, like
Mm-hmm.
like you said, they're confronting their past. Faye comes to find out that, the Bebop is her home. And in this moment, Spike's leaving, and, chances are he's not coming back. They go into like, I feel like they should have gone a little heavier into Jet's background. No, I know they do, but like I wanted more.
There's like two, I think there's 2 episodes where like they go into like his wife, or was it his girlfriend or his wife?
I thought it was his wife. Where isn't he like a cop?
Yeah, he's an ex-cop for the ISSP. Yeah. So they go into one where like basically she just leaves him, and they go into the other one where like how he loses his arm. Yeah. So the first,
I think maybe what it is just that like it's kind of like dwarfed in comparison to like Spike's, or Spike's background and like his backstory and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's because Spike coming from like the Syndicate, and he has this romance. Is Julia, was she originally with Vicious?
I don't think so.
No, she was just also part of the Syndicate. Yeah. I probably like misinterpreted that, but I thought that Julia was originally like, or Vicious was seeing Julia, but then Spike like still like fell in love with her, and she chose to be with Spike.
Well, like the whole point of it, it's like, I guess Julia was part of the Syndicate, and she chose to leave, then she would die. So she just like decided to like pretend she was still in the Syndicate, so she wouldn't be hunted.
Yeah, no, I got that part, but it was just like the
whole love interest stuff.
Yeah, it was like a love triangle there, but yeah, you get like this really like crazy like wild thing going with Spike, and it's just like, oh crap, man, he's like, I lost my eye, my background's sad, it's like, but not that Jet's story isn't sad, but it's just like in comparison, it's just like Spike's just like, oh crap, man, this dude.
Yeah, it's like Jet finds out like what really happens and why his girlfriend or wife left her, and he just like oh well, I can finally get like time can finally move on, because he's like he has like this pocket watch that
he got like his closure out of it.
Yeah, and he's just like,
right.
Yeah, like his story's finished. Like he knows.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of figured it out.
Yeah.
Like the other ones keep going.
Yeah, I think that's really cool. Also, how they do that, how they like kind of wrap it up,
mm-hmm.
and the 3 of them, because I guess like Ed and Ein, they don't really...
What happens with them is like it's not that they have a path. It's more like whenever they leave, they start their
well, because like
their adventure starts.
Yeah, like I mean, Ed's what 13.
I don't remember.
Yeah, I don't know. I can't remember if they go in depth, but like she's young, and so it's kind of like she has that where the other three are still confronting, and they have like conflicting with with their past.
Like they've already lived their lives. They're
and they're just battling with that.
Yeah.
Whereas Ed
just starting
still,
off.
Like she's about to
like
go
this is
make
just
her own
like a little sort of slice of her life. Like then she moves on and
and so see, like even now, like just breaking that down, like that's
like,
really cool.
Like you keep like digging into it, and like you find out more things.
And she's still making her story, making her life. Whereas these three people are still like battling with like their demons of their past, and I think, and then just now like breaking it down, it's really cool how they kind of like get rid of one at a time. It's like Jet deals with his, now he's done. Then Faye finishes hers, like she confronts her past and she figures out, and then they're moving on. The only one that can't move on is Spike,
until the end,
until the very end, where he's just like, I have to figure out, like I have to find out.
Yeah.
Right? Is that what he said? I have to find out if this is a dream or
if he was ever really alive.
If he was ever really alive, yeah.
Because he thinks like the whole time it's like a dream, and that's why he's like he has to figure it out.
Yeah.
If it's alive.
Like even that, you can interpret that in so many ways.
Yeah, man. It's really cool. Like, man, I'm glad we did this episode, man. Like actually breaking it down, being able to go back into it. That's really cool. And I think JT, you said that there's like talk about a Netflix adaptation or a part 2.
Yeah, so there's been talk about it. I'm not sure about how development on it is going. I'll look it up real quick. But there's been talk about a live action Cowboy Bebop being made by Netflix. Last I heard anything about it, they had decided who their main role for Spike was going to go to.
It's John Cho.
Yeah, wasn't the guy he did White Castle, I think, right? Or not White Castle, the Harold and Kumar.
Oh yeah,
Harold and Kumar.
Yeah.
You
know, Keanu Reeves said he would want to do Spike in 2013 if there was ever an opportunity, and then in 2016 they're like, yeah, we're gonna do the live adaptation, and then he's all like, it's too late. But I think it's because it had to do with like age, because I think he was getting old or something like that.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. But
Yeah, I'd still.
You know how old Jeff Bloom is, like right now?
Oh
yeah, I saw that video and he's looking.
He's 60.
Yeah,
he's 60?
Really?
Yeah.
Hey, he looks good for his age.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I'd smash.
60. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Damn.
Wow.
Yeah.
Crap.
I mean, that means he must have been 40 whenever he shot that. Yeah. The series.
Yeah, I mean,
Oh yeah, because it was
20 years ago.
98. Yeah.
98.
Yeah, I mean, like this Netflix adaptation, man, better not like let us down like every other Netflix adaptation.
Yeah, it's one of those where it's just like it's so good. It's like I don't know, man.
Like that, it makes you question like if they should have just left it where it was.
Yeah, I was like looking at this one interview from 2018 with Watanabe, and he was saying that like it's like they were saying like, so how do you feel about Spike dying at the end? And he's like, well, I never said Spike died at the end. It was up to the reader how he took it. But I'm leaning more towards how Spike never died. You know, it's like Spike. Yeah. So it's like,
see, but when was that interview? You remember?
2018.
2000. Oh, also, it's Steve Blum, not Jeff.
Oh, okay.
Steve Blum.
Steve Blum.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, you were saying it, and it was like it wasn't sounding right to me. I was like, hold on a minute. But yeah, he's still 60. Just in case you like looked up a different guy, but yeah, he's
probably
60. Okay, so 2018.
So like
when JT, do you have the exact dates when they were talking about the Netflix adaptation?
I think it's 2016 where like they were writing the stuff.
So the most recent news about it, there's a lot of people going online talking about how they're already talking about a season 2 for the live action.
We're not talking about season 2.
I know we're not talking about that.
I wanted like the initial for the first like
the initial for it.
You said, what did you say? You said 2016 they were writing it.
Yeah, I think that's when they were the first talk about it.
And there was Watanabe that came out and said that he wasn't dead. I wonder if they just like
wanted to capitalize on it.
If they like kind of twisted his arm and they were just like, hey man, like
money.
If they're like if they just hit him with that like, hey man, like tell people that he's not dead.
Yeah.
But I don't know, because like the way they ended it, he confronts Vicious, the syndicate, and he kills Vicious.
Does he?
But
that's another question. Yeah.
Hold on. Wait a minute. Oh man,
Yeah.
I'm shook. But I mean, all right, I see.
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay, so what happens? They're like facing each other. Vicious has a sword. Spike has a gun, and they trade blows. Spike shoots Vicious. Vicious like slashes Spike's gut. Vicious falls over, but Spike's still standing, and he's like kind of like like covering his wound over his like abdomen, and he's like walking down the stairs, and then he falls over. Yeah, he's bang.
The infamous
Start crying. Yeah, and so he falls there on the steps, and all the syndicate guys are at the base of the steps, and they're just like on looking through the rubble, and he's just like dead there, or quote unquote dead. And so like what we were theorizing is that like Vicious, what he did was he led a coup and killed the original syndicate leaders, and then he took over the syndicate. So with that happening, as the base one can assume that's just how that syndicate works, where it's like you kill the power, now you get the power.
It was like Shin, right? That was Lin's brother, right?
Yeah.
So like Shin was all like man, you're like, yeah, I was waiting for you to come back and lead the organization.
Yeah, I feel like that was a key word. Like that's very important, where he's like, I was waiting, like his dying breath, he was just like, I was waiting for you to come back and take over.
Yeah.
And so Vicious kills the leads or the heads, and then he becomes the head himself. And then so Spike killed Vicious. So does that
Dude,
I mean, in the eyes of the syndicate members, does that mean Spike's now the lead,
leader.
like the head? So, we were thinking, or I mean, I was thinking, I don't know if you guys agree with it or not, but, they can definitely pick up from there. And
obviously, like, Spike wouldn't want to be like,
oh, he wouldn't want to, but I mean, more of like, they would give him like help, they would pick him up and like patch him up.
Mm-hmm.
If they see him as the boss. It's just like, oh, we can't let him die.
Well, see, that's even to the point of that the live action continues on, because it might just be a straight up remake of it. It might just be the same thing.
Oh man, I hope not. I hope it's not a remake.
I'm pretty sure that's why they're making a season 2, because I'm pretty sure like the first season would probably be like a remake, and then season 2 would continue off.
Well, you say that, but the season 1's only going to be 10 episodes long. It's not even going to be a full like 12 episode thing.
But that's the thing, because like most of the episodes are just filler.
Yeah, there's a lot of fat that you can trim. Well,
it's going to be a while before we see anything for it, because around the time that they first started recording everything, they immediately had to stop because
John Cho had an accident.
He had an accident.
Oh.
So they halted production for like 7 to 9 months.
Did they say what happened?
I think he like something with his leg, or
yeah, it was something.
He was like he was doing the stunt and like
some stunt.
Yeah,
pretty much. So basically 7 to 9 months. They announced that back in October of last year, and considering that it's May now, it should be starting up.
But then with like
soon
COVID
again.
And everything.
Yeah, that's also true.
Mm-hmm.
So who knows when they'll actually be able to start continuing with it.
The only thing to look forward to is that, so like normally like a halt in production like that can like make or break something being released. But the only good thing, I guess, is that it's Netflix, and I think they have big enough pockets to still keep something
enough
going.
Change
like
rummaging around.
Yeah. But man, I don't know how I'd feel about that. I don't know. What do you guys think? What do y'all let us know? How do y'all feel about a Cowboy Bebop remake or continuation, but rather live action adaptation? I don't know. Maybe because it's live action, it would make more sense to just outright remake it and then sequel, as opposed to just go straight to sequel.
And also, like the character they chose, the actors. Like, how do you think they'll fit in with the roles and all that?
I don't know. I saw
that's
like
a big
picture
thing
of John Cho.
John Cho.
Yeah, John Cho.
Mm.
I saw a picture of him, and
handsome fella.
Yeah, handsome fella. give him the right hair. I think he'll make a really good fit for Spike.
Could you imagine like they release action figures of him, just like Spike Spiegel, but like with John Cho's face on it? Like that'd be pretty gross.
It would be pretty good. But I mean, they're not gonna make an action figure out of it.
You don't know.
You never know.
You don't know. That's the thing.
Money.
No, action figures that's like the 80s.
No, they still do that, man.
Everybody.
Come on,
You say that, but
What's
you
that you have
remember
on your
that
shelf?
stuff that happened with like Captain Marvel? They released like so many action figures of Captain
Yeah,
Marvel,
but those
and
are
nobody
superheroes. This
and
is
nobody
an
like
anime.
okay,
nobody
so what
bought
about,
them. And
what
like,
about the dolls and stuff that they released for like Beauty and the Beast remake and stuff like that?
But again, this is an anime. It's not like
The
that's beauty.
points-
That's Disney.
Straight
They're
import from
money-hungry.
Japan.
Hey man, what's that you got on your shelf over there?
It's like, I love John Cho and Spike
Because-
Spiegel.
Like Spiegel.
What's that you got on your shelf? Are those action figures?
No, those are figurines.
Oh,
Your play toys.
Different. I don't think anyone would actually like get the rights to make a John Cho Spike Spiegel figurine. Well, there's so many nice Spike figurines out there already.
Whatever the movie comes out. Just wait. Just wait.
I'll
my
buy-
words.
I'll buy one and I'll eat it.
Archive this.
I'll buy two. I'll eat one of them. I'll put the other one up on my shelf.
Alright.
God. But I don't know. So I think that probably wraps it up. I mean, unless any of y'all have any last words on the anime.
No, it's just a great watch.
Yeah.
Honestly, music's solid, story is really good, despite it being really slow. But like story for it is absolutely amazing.
Yeah, I think
Um,
it definitely deserves a title of like cult classic. Just
Mhm.
it's so
I mean,
good.
it wasn't really a cult classic, more like a.
Well, I mean,
'cause-
more of like nowadays.
Oh, yeah,
like,
now, yeah,
Well,
'cause-
originally when it came out, it flopped, but like
Yeah.
now it's
I mean, that's what happens with a lot of like good things nowadays. Like in the beginning,
No one
This-
really thinks
yeah,
much
kinda
of
like-
it.
well, who's that? The poet, the Edgar Allan Poe.
Mm,
Like he died poor. Like no one really.
no one was buying his works
Yeah.
and stuff like that, but now it's just
now in
yeah.
modern day,
Now he's a
everybody
legend.
everybody
regards him.
it's like base curriculum and
Yeah, just how it goes.
education. Yeah, just how it goes. But yeah, so I guess we'll wrap it up there. That seems like a good stopping point. Highly recommended. It's a great anime. Y'all let us know if you want us to cover more cult classic OG anime. We do have plans to
Continue the series.
yeah, continue the series. We want to. Again, it's like a perfect excuse to go back and watch some of these oldies. But y'all let us know personally, like if y'all have some more like under the radar type, maybe it didn't get too much attention in its day, but it definitely deserves it now.
Great teacher Onizuka.
Yeah. Oh,
Hmm.
Get to that later. Get to that later, guys.
Great teacher Onizuki. That one's good. No, definitely. I want a Gintama episode. Y'all help me out, convince these guys to get a Gintama episode in the works.
You don't need to convince me.
Yeah. Well, I gotta convince the rest of the guys to watch. What is it, like 6 seasons worth of?
Excuse me, what?
It's
a-
Really?
It's a beef.
But
big
it's
beefy
worth
anime.
it.
If you look at my anime list, it's like
Let me
there's
see, like, how
4 in
how
the top
long it
10.
Oh yeah, it's like dude.
Yeah,
Well-
there's like 4 of it series in the top 10.
Well,
But
while Ev is looking that up, be sure to tell us what you thought of today's episode.
Oh,
Tell
yeah,
us
most definitely.
Thoughts and opinions, whether you agreed with us, disagreed with us, think it's utter trash, think it's just a masterpiece of an anime.
yeah,
Honestly.
give us what do you say, JT? I'm gonna do your part. Thinks, stonks.
Yeah, that.
What you think's in your thonks?
Yeah, no, hit us up on our Twitter at Bowl of Men, or send us a good old fashioned email, bowlofmen@gmail.com. Yeah, man, let us know. Let's get a discussion going on Twitter. Let's debate it out. If you hate it, let me know. Let Diego know. So
So you can
fight
fight.
yeah, we'll catch these hands.
Insta ban.
Yeah, I'll whip out my Nippon sword. But
Wait, what?
Nippon steel. But alrighty then, y'all. That's another episode of Bowl of Man, and we'll catch y'all next week.
Later.
Later.